You really get a dose of that humility when you go through a couple aneurysm surgeries. I recall the surgeon when we went to get her final release, "I'm done with you." He gave her a few tests that they always give you: push on my hands, follow my finger. And then he leaned back on his desk and he said, "Do you know how fortunate you are? You're able to walk, you're able to talk, you're able to raise your family, you're able to work, you're able to drive, and you had 2 surgeries without a stroke or a seizure. Wow."
Surgery number 1 was June 5th, and surgery number 2 was August 14th. And I had to have 2 separate surgeries because the aneurysms were in 2 separate parts of my brain. And with number 1 over here being ruptured, they couldn't have that much of my brain exposed to do the clippings. So we had to wait till this one was clipped and I surgically recovered well enough for them to see that I could have another brain surgery. The only symptom an aneurysm has is rupture. And the key to saving people's lives beyond or before the rupture is obviously knowing that you had the aneurysm to begin with. And most people don't know they have them until they rupture. I had 2 aneurysms, one of which ruptured on June 5th of 2012 at my son Maxwell's baseball game. The whole part of this season, that particular season, Maxwell was trying nothing more than to hit a home run. I mean, you could just see it in his stance and the way he gripped the bat. That's all he was trying to do was smack a home run. Maxwell's first at-bat, he cracked the ball and it instantly looked like it was the home run that he was going after, and I stood up very quickly. And when I stood up, I didn't know this then, but I know it now, when I stood up at that crack of the bat is when my aneurysm ruptured. I remember feeling somewhat odd, medically odd, but I couldn't explain anything of it. And I remember having to hold on to the fence behind home plate because I didn't want to sit down. I wanted to watch what happened. And to make the situation funny, it was not a home run. It was a ground rule double. And when my son made it to second base and him and I got the eye contact and could do this, I sat back down, and as I was going to sit back down, I felt like I could faint. And yes, my head hurt. Now, I have my mother's migraines, or I've had them just like she's had. So yes, my head hurting was obviously going on, but it wasn't enough for me to think that there was anything seriously wrong with it. All I wanted to do was sit down, and then once I sat down, I felt like I just needed to lay down, and that's all I wanted to do. Now, the mom that I was sitting next to happens to be a nurse who knew that there was something odd going on as soon as I sat down, because she started asking me questions that I thought were kind of odd. And she kept flashing fingers in front of my eyes, and I didn't know why she was doing that. I know now is she was doing emergency room visual tests on me, but I didn't know that at the time. And she could tell that there was something wrong, and she was trying to get my husband or other people around me to call for an ambulance or to help, because she could tell I needed to go somewhere. All I wanted to do was lay down. And my husband's basically admitted to me that had she not been so insistent, he would have walked me back to the car and let me lay down. I probably would have died in my car at my son's baseball game.
With what Janet has been through and what Julie's been through, I think a lot about how God loves people, but I don't even think I've touched the outer limits of His love with what He's done, the way He's blessed me in my life. and my wife and my children. I don't know how people can get through and not lean on God.